What's going on, everyone? It is that time once again to talk about the Acolyte. So, we are at episode 6 now, and still plenty to go over about things that they're just absolutely doing wrong here. All right, so I know last week I combined 2 episodes together because I had gotten sick during the week of episode 4, so I had to combine 4 and 5 together in my review. This one's definitely going to be a shorter episode because we're only covering 1 episode, and to be honest, they didn't give us that much to talk about. This has got to be truly a candidate for the most boring episode so far. But there's still things to talk about that they did that was really weird and just like, are we still watching Star Wars here? I'm not sure if we're still watching Star Wars, but let's go ahead and check it out. Obviously, spoilers. You have been warned just in case you are, for any reason, interested in watching The Acolyte. But let's go ahead and jump into it and go over all of this. All right, so to start things off, the episode opens up with Osha waking up in Chimere's lair, which is still weird because he was trying to kill them all, but now he's, the plot changes to fit whatever they need to do to keep pushing episodes. So at this point, he is trying to turn her, make her his apprentice. That's obvious with him putting the cloak over her and episode ending there. Now she's waking up here. So that in itself is weird. And then we get this right here as she's waking up. We see that Osha is wounded and Chimere has obviously patched up her wounds. Now, what's odd about this is not so much that she has a wound there, because I had to go double back to the previous episode. Yes, there is a wound there. But what's really odd is the fact that her sister wounded her and then just left her there. Just to assume her identity, and now we don't know why. I don't know. The whole thing about her being wounded and then knocked out. Now I'm trying to figure out how the knocking out, because there's no bandage on her head, but she got a wound right here. So how did she get knocked out? Why was she knocked out so long if they're clearly showing she has a wound here but no concussion? Makes very little sense. Plus, May is the one who inflicted it. If May cared so much about her sister, then how is she able to wound her, knock her out, assume her identity, and just leave her there? Like, there's so much wrong with the narrative. Like, what does anybody actually want? What are their goals? Because they switch up so fast. The flip-flopping in this is just amazing at this point. It's almost impressive how many times characters are flip-flopping. So, anyway, let's continue. Now, while that's going on, over here, Soul is, well, going through a lot. He just lost his team and everything. Now, what they're doing good with here, and this is credit to the actors, because as I've repeatedly said, the actors are the only thing that's digestible about this show, because the actors are doing a good job acting. As far as the writing and direction of the show, we all know that's garbage. But Soul, I forget the actor who's playing him, but he's doing a great job showing Soul's confliction and his pain and everything he's going through after so many Jedi that he held close to him, near and dear, are now gone. And so now he's going through that conflict, the agony that you see on his face as he's going through it. I think that's great. But the real problem with the entire Soul situation is that he has no clue that May is pretending to be Osha. Now, he figures it out later, but the problem is the fact that he had to be told or figured it out, and we're going to get to how he figures it out, which is even worse. But let's just keep in mind here, he's known Osha for well over 10 years. They don't tell us exactly when she left the Jedi Order, so we can't say the full 16 years, but he's known her for more than 10 years, obviously. And he has already faced off with May and has even read May's mind. Yet, he is now unable to tell with simple Jedi sensory that May is pretending to be Osha. I love how they make these Jedi badass and then they completely snuff out and nerf their abilities on a whim just because. It is wow. But unfortunately, Soul cannot figure it out on his own. He has been nerfed for the episode. And so who ends up figuring it out and telling him? The good old tracker, Gopher. Using the power of his sniffer, can smell the difference between Osha and May, and ends up telling Soul towards the end of the episode in so many ways. They don't even show them actually interact, but the way they do it pretty much lets you know that the gopher creature thing over here is the one who pretty much figured it out. So Master Jedi has been nerfed just so Disney can shoehorn a pet sidekick. Like, we need an animal sidekick in this just because it's owned by Disney now. That's the vibe that I'm getting, because the little creature is so out of place here. It's so out of place here. It really makes no sense. Everything else could have happened without this creature's existence. He has been shoehorned in here because Disney needs an animal friend to make plushies out of for the future. And then for the very, very awkward scene that we're about to get into right here, we have Osha trying to sneak up on Chimere, and she's seen right here hiding with one of May's daggers, but she's attempting to sneak up on him while he's bathing in a lake. So we all know where this is going. She grabs a hold of his lightsaber. He speaks to her, letting her know that he could sense her the entire time. Obviously, he doesn't get nerfed in this episode like Soul does. And while May gets defensive and prepares to possibly have to fight, even though she forgets to turn the lightsaber on at this moment, Chimera decides that his Sith name is going to be Darth Thirst Trap. I guess this is why he killed Yord in such a brutal fashion, right? The Yord was the first one to have his shirt off, and he's like, no, this is me. I'm taking over here. My shirt's coming off, and snapped his neck. That's where Star Wars is at this point, using thirst traps. And this is the second time, so wow, just wow. I didn't even talk about it the first time because I was like, okay, maybe this is just a one-off, but no, this is literally a plot point to the show because they've done it more than once now. But in the middle of this very, very awkward sexual tension that they're throwing in here, it's very obvious that Chimere is trying to take steps towards turning May to his side and having her join the dark side and such. But the whole thing feels a little off because it's a very kind of weird flirtatious thing going on, and I don't know, maybe it does work. Maybe flirting somebody into the dark side is a thing. I haven't seen that done yet, but I guess this is the new canon, right? This is how we do it now. We're gonna flirt with you to get you to the dark side. And while Soul is pretty much bearing his heart to May, because at this point he still hasn't figured out that she's an imposter, Master Venestra, after receiving a broken up distress call from Soul, where they were able to make out that his entire team was killed, she decides that she needs to go out there. And while that part makes sense, what doesn't make sense is that they have to throw in that she gets flight sickness from hyperspace travel, which is really a really odd and pointless detail to throw in there. Not to mention, this is supposed to be a Jedi Master here. Like, there's things that Jedi don't prefer to do because of their personal preference, because they're still people at the end of the day. But since when do Jedi suffer motion sickness and things like that? Especially considering everything that they train in. Like, where's the Force meditation to help balance herself out? Where's that? It shouldn't be an issue, and it shouldn't have come up as a talking point. It was just weird, pointless, and stupid. I'm sorry. But things continue to get weird because May is now in possession of Osha's droid companion and decides that she needs the droid to listen to her and work for her. So she reprograms it by holding down a big button right on the front. She basically hit the factory reset button with less effort that you would have to do for your smartphone. Like, since when have droids been this easily reprogrammed? Any of them. I'm not just talking about the high-end ones. Since when does a button press completely change your droid back to factory settings? And then what's weird is not only did it bring it back to factory settings, it made it completely loyal to her. From a push of a button. No opening it up, messing with the circuits, no going in, doing any real reprogramming. A push of a single button. That's how basic this droid is. Except for when OSHA really needed it to come through, sure. But the fact of the matter is, why is this? And to make the whole situation even stranger and just dumber and everything, is that after she reprograms it, it turns red. The little glowing eyes that you see become red. So now we have officially seen it. A droid has been turned to the dark side. With a push of a button, with the factory reset button, this droid was turned into a dark droid before our very eyes. I have to laugh at this because it's just that stupid. I'm sorry, I'm just gonna hammer this home. She held down a single button on the front, completely exposed, and it not only reprogrammed it back to factory settings, it not only rewrote it to be completely loyal to her, but it also turned it to the dark side. Just keep in mind about that, how that happened to this droid from that one button press. The button the large button right on the front that could have been pressed by accident at any time did all of this in just a couple seconds. And then in the midst of all of this going on, Chimera lets OSHA know that the ship is right there. All she has to do is swim across the water and get on the ship and take off. He's not even holding her here. And somehow the reverse psychology works because she chooses instead to stay. But the plot needs her to stay so they can continue to push the episode and have Chimera continue to slowly try to influence her towards the dark side. Which he does by asking her to kill him. He puts the lightsaber right at his stomach and asks her to turn it on, dares her to, tries to encourage her to, and of course she doesn't, which this part makes no sense because what if she did? Sure, Sith have definitely tempted potential apprentices by attacking them, but they don't put them in a position to be immediately killed like this. Okay, maybe he's being risky, and maybe, he's not really as Sith as he says he is, because while he is giving a vaguely good explanation for his motives and what he's all about and everything, it definitely sounds like somebody who doesn't know that much about Sith knowledge and everything, and is somebody who has only gotten basic knowledge from someone. There's definitely a master behind this. That part is obvious, but still, I feel like this could have been done better. Just like right here, for example, where he finally pushes her enough to ignite the lightsaber that she's been so scared to ignite this entire time. Really? And then when she holds it up to him, just got to point out the fact that she's not even holding the blade up to him. She's holding the hilt up to his neck and the blade is off to the side. It's can you please make us feel like any moment is intense? The way they do this just takes you out of it every single time. But it's alright because we have even more things to confuse us with. Soul eventually finds out that May is pretending to be OSHA, from the little gopher friend and everything, because it took him till the very end of the episode to finally do something. To finally, piece it all together. And instead of taking her back or going back to try to find May, obviously, he decides he's just going to take her and disappear somewhere. That's right. He doesn't stay for the Jedi to find him. He doesn't go after OSHA. He just takes May and decides it's time to go and it's time to talk. And because he decides to leave, it pretty much leaves Vernestra to come down and investigate the planet with her small team of Jedi. What I find funny about this is that they took a smaller team to go find the missing Jedi that they presume are dead than there are the actual Jedi that they sent to find the Jedi killer. It's wait, wouldn't you bring more since this guy just wiped through a bunch of knights and masters? I guess they just didn't have the budget to hire more. But before we get to the rest of their investigation, we have to detour to Chimera continuing to try to slowly nudge OSHA towards the dark side. And here, last episode, we gave them a little bit of praise for introducing Cortosis. But this scene literally ruins it by contradicting how cortosis works. Because while he's explaining it's good against lightsabers, he doesn't explain why, because the reason why completely contradicts this exact scene right here. He's repairing the helmet after Jackie busted it up with the blunt end of her lightsaber, and he's using a power tool. Now, remember, cortosis works by absorbing the energy of whatever hits it. So energy-based weapons like lightsabers or even blasters become useless against it. It has to be hit with a physical object because it's brittle. The fact that he's using a soldering gun, an electric tool, in order to seal and fix his helmet is completely contradictory to how cortosis works. The entire point of cortosis is that it's extremely brittle, so any physical blunt weapons are going to smash it easily, but they absorb energy. It absorbs energy at an extremely high rate, therefore that's why it can absorb the energy of a lightsaber and temporarily short it out, but it's the same effect with any other electronic or energy-based tool, not just weapon, just anything like that. So a soldering gun that is an electric tool should not be able to fix this. In fact, it should short out the moment he turns it on and touches the cortosis with it. So again, they're not paying attention to the lore. They don't care. They're just throwing stuff in there that they see from Legends without actually researching the stuff from Legends, which is terrible. But when it comes down to the actual point of the scene, he's fixing it and tempting her to put it on because he's talking about how it can block your senses and allow you to dive deeper into the Force. And so he's leaving it there because, of course, they nerfed Osha's Force abilities from the first episode, even though she's supposed to be as strong on the Force as her sister, which is hilarious that they're doing this, in order to leave her tempted to want to wear this helmet and reconnect herself to the Force since she doesn't have a connection right now. And then for shock value, they give us the most interesting thing in the episode, Jackie's corpse. Jackie has carried this show so hard that the best part of this episode, the most interesting part that actually jumped out at you, was seeing her dead. That's just sad. And understand that this wasn't even a quick play. They left this up here for a good little bit just so people can see, yes, she's really dead. So there you go. But what's really odd is that the Jedi who are here to investigate this are kind of looking around, and you're not getting the right reaction to Jedi finding a whole bunch of Knights Masters and our incredibly skilled Padawan youngling over here completely just, wiped out. They're walking around here just like, what happened here? There's no sense of urgency going on. None at all. Like, the way they act takes you completely out of this whole scene. And just to bring up, the other Jedi in here are thinking that because this is a place in the Outer Rim on this jungle planet that's considered dangerous, it's possible that something in the Force got them. Like, if that were true, then why was the Wookiee Jedi stationed here? And again, when he went AWOL, because you guys had lost contact with him, how come nobody came looking for him? If this place is so dangerous that you guys were willing to believe that the dangers of this jungle alone was enough to wipe out an entire squad of Jedi. Again, not making sense. But alas, next up we have the lore-breaking scene right here. And I just want to explain why this is lore-breaking. For one, she sensed the bug before it even attacked her, when the entire team of Masters and Jedi wasn't able to. And even Chimera was taken aback and tossed away. But no, she's a badass. She's badass enough to where she knew the bug was coming and just acted without looking. So they just put her on another level. Which, it's okay, because by the next episode, they're probably going to nerf her somehow. But what's even more frustrating about this is the fact that she whips out the light whip. Now, the light whip itself, the effect that they did right here was pretty cool, but that's just the effect. The problem is the fact that she so nonchalantly whipped out the light whip, killed the bug, and then put it away right in front of this other Jedi over here. The problem with that is that they're taking the fact that she has a light whip directly from Legends, because that's where she appears with her light whip. But there's an actual story to it. She had visions about possible, threats, and had a vision about the light whip, and decided to make the light whip in secret because you're not allowed to modify your lightsabers this kind of way among the Jedi. They seriously frown on that. In fact, as far as Legends, the expanded universe it goes, she's the only Jedi, unless I missed one, but she's the only Jedi that's depicted with the light whip. Everyone else who has a light whip in Legends is a Sith, because this is a weapon this is a highly aggressive weapon. This is meant to kill. And it's highly dangerous. It's even dangerous for the wielder to use because it's a whip made of pure energy, the same energy that makes up a lightsaber. So she makes it in secret. She designs her lightsaber to be able to go from a standard lightsaber blade to a whip from a flick of a switch, but she keeps that under wraps because she knows she's not supposed to do that. She knows that can get her in trouble. So the fact that the new Disney version has her just whipping it out in front of people like it's nothing, and nobody's batting an eye to the fact that she whipped this light whip out, completely contradicts the Jedi in almost every way. Like, what's going on here? How did the light whip become allowed? How did a highly aggressive, deadly weapon that's meant only for taking people out at long range, how was that allowed now? It doesn't make sense. Like, why are we trying to change this much of the lore? Especially when you can't write a good script in the first place. I'm sorry, this completely upset me. I was a little excited in the trailer for this one part because I wanted to see how they were going to do it. Now seeing how they're doing the scene, it's terrible. I thought they were going to be facing the enemy and she had no choice but to whip it out and expose herself to everyone. The fact that they did it just so she can kill a random bug, something that she could have killed with just her regular lightsaber form with the standard blade, or he could have taken it out, or they could have used the Force. Since she's so strong in the Force, she saw the bug coming, she could have just slammed it against the tree with her mind and they could have done anything, but they did the absolute worst thing they could have done in this scene. I'm sorry, this really upset me. This was just wow. But of course the episode needs to wrap up, so we get Soul having May pretty much chained down. She can't go anywhere, and it's weird how they talk to each other like they've known each other so closely, because he talks about how he's had 16 years to think about what he would say to her if he had the chance to, and the backstory only showed him even in her presence for a few moments. Like, it's the energy is so strange. Like, even if he is guilty about stuff, to say that he was thinking 16 years to think about what he would say if he had the chance to talk to her specifically, when he never really knew her like that, it's weird. It makes no sense whatsoever. Even if you want to say, oh, it's because of Osha and everything, that has nothing to do with it. He raised Osha and taught her. There was literally no contact. In fact, there was no words spoken between the two of them ever up until this point. So I've been waiting so long to tell you this. And so they get to where he's going to talk about, tell her everything that happened and everything and his actual truth. And it cuts away because we're not going to get that till the next episode. So yeah, a build up just for a cutaway. But it's not the end of the episode yet, because remember, we have twins here. So as we see what's going on with one, we got to show what's going on with the other. And so Osha is now tempted and gives into her temptation to put on the Cortosis helmet. And it ends with her still kind of being able to see, even though it's supposed to block all sensory, you can still kind of see out of the little thing. So it's not really blocking all sensory. It's not. But apparently it's going to block enough so that she can feel the dark side by the next episode, because this is where the episode ends. And so, yeah, Again, this show, I don't know what's going on here. Everything is all over the place. Nothing can remain consistent. Nothing can truly make sense. It's just a sloppy mess. It's still a sloppy mess, and I'm 100% confident that by the final episode, it's still going to be a sloppy mess. But that's it for this rundown of this episode 6 of The Acolyte. At this point, no surprise. This is what we expect from this show at this point. But let me know, again, in the comments. Let me know how you feel about the show. Let me know if you're enjoying it. Let me know if it's annoying you as much as it's annoying me. Let me know how you feel about it in the comments. And I will catch you guys next week for the next episode. All right? So, till next time, take care of yourselves. May the force be with you always. And I'll see you later.